Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Saints were at Lambeau on Friday. Of course, they drop the game to the Packers 20-10. How about Danny Etling with the big 51-yard touchdown run for Green Bay? For the Saints, it was a 59-yard field goal from Will Lutz and a touchdown reception from Chris Olave that accounted for the scoring. But another up-and-down night for quarterback Ian Book, who threw an interception and put another ball on the ground. So, and then John Parker Romo, who joined the team like the day before, missed a 35-yard field goal. Some things that we learned only solidified what we felt like we already knew about this team. I did have someone ask me this morning. I was doing morning scone, and someone said, man, they looked worse this game than the first game against the Texans. I'm like, hey. Let's not get this sideways. It's a bunch of dudes that aren't going to make the team. It don't matter, all right? I think most of you understand that, but just to be clear, because if one person's thinking it, there's other people thinking it, and you're going, hey, man, they're 0-2 in the preseason. They don't look very good. Yeah, and none of the guys that are actually going to contribute to the success of this team long-term this year were playing on the field on Friday. So it's more about peeling back the layers of the onion to see what you're looking for. By the way, here was Dennis Allen on the loss Friday night after the Saints and the Packers.
So disappointed in the loss. Too many penalties, turned the ball over, and we let them run the ball on us. And you can't do that and expect to win. And doesn't matter whether it's a preseason game or we've got to be better in those areas. That was disappointing to see, all the penalties. It's disappointing to see that we turned the ball over again for the second straight week, so that's got to get cleaned up. There were some positives in the game. Obviously, defensively, we take the ball away there at the end of the first half, create a forced fumble, and end up getting a touchdown to end the first half. I thought that was good. It was good to see Will Lutz kick a 59-yarder. So that was a positive in the game. So look, we got to go back to work, keep getting better.
I mentioned John Parker Romo, the kicker. He's one that has been waived, which should not in any way be surprising. As the Saints begin to pare down their roster, as everybody else is right now as well. Also, KJ Costello was waived, and running back Devine Ozigbo. That one may be a little bit more surprising because Ozigbo did play well in the preseason game on Friday, but it kind of also tells you, it tips your hand a little bit for the Saints where they are within that running back room. Ozigbo, Book was the leading rusher, but of the running backs, Ozigbo had 7 carries for 40 yards, averaged 5.7 a carry. His long was 9, so it wasn't like he ripped off a long one. He was just pretty consistent running the football. Abram Smith struggled again to run the football. Tony Jones Jr. ran hard, but only had 4 rushing attempts. So it really seems like they're zeroing in on that room. Maybe encouraging that they've got a lot invested into Abram Smith. But Ozigbo was one of those guys that actually played football for them in the regular season a year ago when you had injuries and to Alvin Kamara, and you were COVID issues as well. It's a guy who actually played for you. So they're starting to pare that roster down. Ian Book was bad again. We talked about it on Friday where I was I really don't mean this tongue in cheek, but I was kind of saying cheer against Ian Book, mostly because you want him to go unclaimed on waivers so you could sign him back to the practice squad, because he's not going to make this 53-man roster. I don't know how that's even a possibility at this point. And after Friday, it's almost a certainty that he's not going to make this 53-man roster, unless if the Saints decide they want to keep a third quarterback on the roster. But my assumption is you will have Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton, and then your emergency quarterback is either going to be Taysom Hill or Alvin Kamara. At this point, we could probably all agree that you will be better off in a game on an NFL regular season Sunday with Taysom Hill or Alvin Kamara as an emergency option instead of Ian Book. But if you want to give Book another year on the practice squad, do it. But that's where you are at this point. He's just not a good NFL quarterback. 16-28 for 113, had the touchdown pass, also had the interception, put another ball on the ground. Dennis Allen was asked about the positives for Ian Book on Friday, And I don't know that there's many to list, but if you want to search for them, I guess you could find a few.
There was a couple of good throws. There was a great throw at the end of the first half to Olave. Hell of a route by Olave and a good throw for a touchdown. I thought he, for the most part, did a pretty good job of operating in the huddle, getting us in and out. I thought he did some nice things, creating some plays with his feet. So those were the positives.
If getting a team in and out of the huddle is the positive for a professional quarterback, you're reaching. Okay, we all understand it at this point. And maybe the positive is if you are the Saints, you realize you're not going to have to waste a roster spot to keep a third quarterback on the 53. You should be able to use that for an extra receiver. Maybe it's a player like Kirk Merritt, who's really impressed. Look, he had a deep ball go through his hands. You would have loved to have seen him haul that in, but he did have the long return. Even at practice this weekend, he was taking some reps at running back. That's a player they like a lot and has probably earned a roster spot as of this point. He's just in a position group where you don't really often have the luxury of keeping 6 unless you don't keep a third quarterback. So that certainly would be a possibility there. You heard Dennis Allen mention the touchdown pass to Chris Olave. It was the first for Olave, who continues to impress. Here was Dennis Allen on Olave after the game.
I thought he took a real step forward this week, and I thought he capped it off with a nice game today, and certainly the touchdown was a big play for us.
The week of practice was big because all the reports were every day Olave was winning one-on-ones and making plays, and he carried it into the game. It's very clear the Saints had him graded as their highest-rated receiver in the draft. He's going to play a ton. He's going to be the blow-the-top-off-the-defense guy where Michael Thomas is in the role Michael Thomas is in, and we know Jarvis Landry, as great as he is, a willing receiver over the middle to take contact, make difficult catches. The stretch-the-field guy that you've lacked is Chris Olave, and he continues to show it, and that's so encouraging that you're going to have that monster on the offensive side. The other first-round pick, Trevor Penning, after he had a little bit of an up-and-down first preseason game where he was so good against the run but so bad really in pass protection, really seemed to normalize and levelize that, starting at left tackle with James Hurst out, which was great to see. Kirk Merritt, I mentioned, had the 59-yard kick return. He did have the drop on the deep ball. And I'll tell you, John Bostic had the fumble recovery. It was Eric Wilson who forced the fumble, but Bostic came away with the fumble recovery and it led the Saints in tackles with 6. Wilson had 5. Those two veteran linebackers right now have become so interesting to me because you know your first 2 guys are set in stone. And I would probably argue that even after Demario Davis, Pete Werner, Caden Ellis has a spot and you really feel like he can play on Sundays for you. But the depth at linebacker after that is really interesting. There were reports at practice on Sunday that Nafai Sewell was taking reps with the ones. And you could tell this coaching staff is pressing now to find any separation among that linebacker group. And I thought in the game on Friday, you saw Bostic and Wilson really show why they're guys who have played in the NFL for a long time. I mean, John Bostic's a guy who's played in the NFL for 8 years, and he's played in 100 games in his career. And he just looked like a guy who's plays you all remember he's a former Florida Gator, but he's a guy that looks like a Sunday player playing in the preseason. He stood out. I mean, it's why those guys stand out in the preseason when they do. Dennis Allen, after the game, was asked about Bostic, who had this was just his first week with the Saints. I
think he did a pretty good job. Really, he came in on Monday and threw him into a couple of practices and then put him out there in the game. So I'll have to go back and look at the tape to see exactly how he did. But I know he made one nice tackle on the sideline in coverage. I think he was the guy that picked up the fumble. So those were a couple of positive plays.
The Saints have their final preseason game on Friday at home against the Chargers. Rosters will be pared down again on Tuesday, and then the final cuts will come after the third preseason game when they'll get down to 53. But the Saints have some interesting decisions to make. If there was another positive, I mentioned the 59-yarder by Will Lutz. How about Blake Gillikin with an 81-yard punt? He did post on social media that the NFL drug tested him after the game as well. Boom, 81 yards. Boom. Here comes the drug test because you've got to be juicing if you knock 181 yards, right? But the Saints special teams, that's you're locked in there, and that's a great thing. That phase of the game is solidified. You've got your snapper, your punter, you've got your place kicker. and your returners as well. So special teams, just check, like put that thing to bed right now. Just keep everybody healthy, and that's fantastic to see. So one more preseason game to go for the Saints. Will be this Friday against the Chargers. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.